Hello, it's Joseph, and welcome back to my Colonizing Kerbin series. We are on episode 18 of the series, and this is going to be the first episode where I am using the latest major update, the 1.12 update, the final major update for Kerbal Space Program, and that is going to make some big changes to how I play the game. I've been avoiding using mods, and one thing that has been a mod for a while has been Kerbin Alarm Clock, but now that is an app essentially in the game. So here we are at the Eeloo mission, which has been nearly 3 years of travel for these Kerbins who set off back at about episode 8 or 9 to visit Eeloo. So now we're back at the Minmus refueling station, and they have received a request from the Mun Ring station to refuel that station there, and the Kerbals feel this is an opportunity to test the refueling tanker that we sent out to Minmus from last episode. On the screen, this is showing you the where Mun, Minmus, and Kerbin need to be in order for you to make a successful transfer from Minmus to the Mun. And we're not quite there yet. And the nice thing is we have a new app that also tells us, at least the alarm clock does, it tells us where our next transfer window opportunity is going to be going from the Minmus to the Mun. And that's going to be about 4 days from now in the game. Now, the new Maneuver Node Maker app did not work here. It did not allow me to create a maneuver node, so I just did it manually, which wasn't a big deal because I've made maneuver nodes 100 times. And on screen here, there's an option where I can move this maneuver forward 4 days, and then that allowed me to make sure that the maneuver was right where it needed to be. So here we are. Looks like I put the Mun Ring station as the target, and we're time warping forward, looking for the burn here. There we go. There's the burn to head off to the Mun. So obviously there's going to be a little bit of an inclination adjustment to this trajectory that the refueler is on, but it's all good. We've already arrived here at the Mun. And now we're just on our way to the station to dock and refuel the vessel. So as I was saying, the Maneuver Node Maker app did not work. It gave me some sort of message that said that my inclination or something was too far off. Not sure what that means. My hypothesis is that since I'm at Minmus, it's at a 6-degree inclination in relation to Kerbin, it just wasn't functioning. Now, I did use the Maneuver Node app. I did test it out, and it did create a maneuver node for me at the Mun. But I have a feeling that that app is going to be a bit touch and go, and so I'm probably not going to use that Maneuver Node Maker app hardly that often. I feel pretty comfortable with making maneuver nodes on my own, and I feel new players to the game should really get to know how to make maneuver nodes manually before they start making use of that app, because it's not perfect. It doesn't perfectly give you the best trajectory to where we're going. Well, anyway, the refueler now needs to head back to Minmus, and essentially in relation to Kerbin, the Mun basically has to be at a 90 degree, pretty close to a 90 degree angle from Minmus, as you can see. And once again, checking the alarm clock app, the best time to get a transfer is another 4 days from now. So that's pretty good. Now you'll notice that I am undocking the refueler from the station before making the maneuver node. That is actually important because the maneuver node locks to whatever craft you are set on. So if you undock from the station after making maneuver node, it could have that maneuver node applied to the ring station, which means you got to start all over making the maneuver node. So anyway, traveling from the Minmus to Mun isn't too big of a use of fuel from this craft. This craft does a pretty good job transferring the fuel over. As you can see, we didn't even use up all of our fuel. That's because the ring station habitat didn't really need the refuel. It was just more of an opportunity to show how this process works of transferring fuel from Minmus to the Mun. The Kerbals were happy to test out and make sure that the system works. And it was also a good opportunity to show how transferring from the Minmus to Mun and back works in the game. Then I also remembered that we had brought along some fuel draining systems, and we have a Kerbal out, Law Carbon out there, attaching these fuel drainers. And this is probably good for the tanker to dump fuel if it has, if it's in a situation where it needs to dump fuel. Anyway, not really thinking of what a practical purpose that would be right now, but I just thought I'd go ahead and do that. All right, so now we're looking to transfer to Jool. So on the screen here, you'll notice that we need Jool to be around a 96-degree angle in relation to the sun and to Kerbin. Now, I have actually, back before I was making this series, I actually went on ahead and I figured out where a lot of transfer windows were ahead of time when I was making this series. So this is basically what I have been doing in the game. And as you can see on screen, in the map screen, if you saw the Eeloo ship popped up, and you'll notice that it will tell that a maneuver node is coming up in the map screen. So I was usually referring back to the map screen regularly to make sure I didn't miss the Eeloo maneuver node. But now the alarms, just like you see on screen, will go off to tell me that, hey, I was planning to do something here. And what were we planning to do here on year 4, day 290? Well, we were planning to launch a relay satellite network to Jool. And this is going to be one of 2 relay networks that we're sending off to Jool. This one is going to orbit Jool. The plan is to place it between the orbits of Tylo and Pol. Is Pol the next one out? I should have looked that up before I started doing the commentary, but I believe that's what's next. So there's going to be a relay satellite network between Tylo and Pol, and then there's going to be a relay network in orbit of Laythe. So we are now getting that first relay into orbit. Beautiful separation. And finalizing the circularization. That little explosion was just the decoupler of the upper stage's engine flying back and hitting the main booster. No big deal. The decoupler has a lower tolerance for destruction, and it didn't do any damage to the main booster. And here we are landing the main booster. Successful deployment of the parachutes. All right, so this craft is going to be a little short on Delta V to get to where we need to go. So what I do when I make these maneuver nodes when I'm heading out to Jool, I try to set my conics to the maximum, which is 6. This allows me to see whenever the maneuver takes a craft in and out of a moon or a planet sphere of influence. This will show you 6 transfers between, which is what we call SOI, sphere of influence. So anyway, the plan is to get out to Jool and use Tylo, which Tylo is the same mass as Kerbin, just no atmosphere. But anyway, it will allow us to basically, if we can line up the trajectory of the craft at the right place, as you can see on screen, eventually this maneuver that I'm setting an alarm for, it will allow the craft to have a capture orbit around Jool with a very minimal amount of Delta V usage, which is what we call gravity assist. So we're going to use a Tylo gravity assist to help this craft get captured at Jool, which should save a lot of Delta V. These are the 4 side boosters that were with the upper stage that were meant to help get the craft into orbit and to help it get a little bit out of the Kerbin sphere of influence. And we fast forwarded a little bit more, and our second relay is ready to go. Now, the reason these 2 relays are launching as close as they are is because day 301, year 4, day 301, is when the Jool transfer window is at its best point. So I like to, if I'm doing multiple craft to Jool, I will do I'll launch a craft a little bit. I'd like to make sure I'm launching the craft early So that way we're sure to get them out there at the most optimal time. Beautiful separation of the fairing, and the decoupler once again is destroyed by the booster stage. Now, as this booster stage was coming down, this is actually the second or third attempt, because you see that little island back there? I was so close to landing on that island. I thought it would be so cool to land on that little island out there in the middle of the ocean, and then I could boast that, hey, I'm really good at landing this booster, high accuracy and everything, but that didn't work out. I kept missing it, and eventually I just got tired of constantly missing the island despite trying. So anyway, speaking of the conics from earlier, never change your conics in the middle of burning a maneuver. As you could see there, it was very brief, but you may have noticed that the maneuver was about 20 seconds from being done, then all of a sudden the maneuver just changed. It really screws up the maneuver node system if you change the conics in the middle of what you're doing, and then it throws off everything you're doing. All right, so this is relay number 2. This one, I believe I intend to have this one go around lathe, and we are setting a maneuver for later on to ensure that we'll get a capture. And this looks like it's going to be a decent capture orbit around Jool, and should easily allow us to get an encounter with lathe later on. So it looks like it's going to be a little under 2 years until we get to that maneuver in the game. All right, so now just deorbiting these side boosters so that they're not useless pieces of debris in orbit. There's no real way to land these boosters. They don't have enough fuel left. They don't have any parachutes or anything to help them land. And also, they're going at too high of a speed. Now, I have a little problem with this update, and that is the wheels. As you can see, we're back at the one of the fuel tankers at Minmus, and it's drifting around all over the place. Part of this 1.12 update was they tried to make rovers a little less likely to flip out in the game. You may have remembered a couple episodes ago, if you've been watching the series, that I demonstrated what can happen if you let a rover get a little out of control. But it seems like this large craft that is trying to rove around on Minmus is having a little trouble. I had a lot of trouble with control now, and I'm a little worried about it. Hopefully they will have a little patch that will come out. Hopefully the developers will notice some of us saying, hey, can you, hey Valve, can you, or not Valve, Valve didn't make the game. Hey Squad, can you guys make an adjustment to the wheels? Because it'd be kind of sad if the final major update of the game left the game in a state where you can't drive around big vehicles on Minmus. So hopefully that will be adjusted soon. I do remember there was a patch that came out between the time of me filming this and doing the editing and the commentary. So I may need to jump back to Minmus again just to see if the wheels are working out a little bit better for us. All right, so time for warping a little bit forward, and it looks like that Eeloo mission is finally needing that alignment maneuver that we set an alarm for back at the beginning of the episode. So this is basically going to wrap up the episode today. We are going to, as you can see real quickly, we ran out of electricity in the battery, so I had to use the fuel cells there. But and now we're setting a maneuver to capture at Eeloo and setting an alarm for that. So we're getting closer and closer to Eeloo mission being wrapped up, and we are getting closer and closer to colonizing Duna and Jool. Thank you so much for watching my series, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful day, everyone.